Hello and welcome to Politics Today. I'm Farooq Pratapi. Once again, we are going to talk about the domestic politics of Pakistan, and there are developments that we will be discussing. But before we actually start that, we have to take into account another very important development. The Foreign Minister of Pakistan is at this moment visiting the US, and Pakistan is going to engage in dialogue with the American administration. So their Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson, just spoke to the media. And while talking to the media, while he was discussing other foreign policy challenges that the US faces, other aspects of it as well, he also emphasized the need to engage Pakistan as a critical ally. And he said that stability is also important for Pakistan, its government, and he spoke at length about the importance of that relationship as well. So I'm first of all going to ask my MCR to first play that clip, and then we will discuss that as well. And later on, then we can discuss Pakistan's politics too. Let us go and watch the clip.
Pakistan relationship and the U.S. relationship is extraordinarily important regionally, and as we rolled out the South Asia strategy, we spoke about it in a regional context. It is not just about Afghanistan. This is about the importance of Pakistan and Pakistan's long-term stability as well. We have concerns about the future of Pakistan's government too, in terms of them. We want their government to be stable. We want it to be peaceful. And many of the same issues they're struggling with inside of Pakistan are our issues. So we think there is opportunity for us to strengthen that relationship. We're going to be working very hard at all levels, from the State Department to the Defense Department to our intelligence communities, as well as economic commerce opportunities as well. So it really is a regional approach, and Pakistan is critical, I think, to the long-term stability of the region.
Well, you have listened to Secretary Tillerson's statement. Before we discuss anything else, let me first introduce the guest I've got in the studio, and then we are also going to first do justice to this question, this statement, and then we are going to resume the normal discussion that we plan to. Joining us in the studio at this moment is Javed Sadiq Saab, a senior journalist, a regular in this show, also a columnist, also an editor, also a talk show host. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. Next to him is Zahid Gishkori, one of the best investigative reporters that I've known, and he writes as well. Thank you very much for being part of the program. We will be joined by another guest the moment he joins us. I'm going to introduce him. And Javed Sadiq sir, before we discuss politics, let me ask you, what do you make of this statement that was just made? Do you think that Pakistan's relationship that we were thinking maybe with the US are going down are about to be revived, and we can see significant improvement now?
I think our first reaction was, or the first reading of the statement that emerged from Washington after President Trump announced his South Asia policy, we were of the view that the Americans are going to ditch Pakistan, that they are going to turn their back on Pakistan, and they might, degrade their relationship with Pakistan, but that doesn't seem to be the case. Okay. It's not just Tillerson who has said this, but before that,
General Mattis
also said it, and I think they have understood and they understand the importance of Pakistan in this region. In the context of Afghanistan, the crisis that there is in Afghanistan, they think that without Pakistan's assistance or helping hand, they may not be able to bring peace and stability in Afghanistan, and they may not be able to achieve the objectives which they have set for themselves. Okay. So that's why I think they think that Pakistan's role is very critical. And earlier we thought that the United States was going to help India to establish its footprint in Afghanistan. That seems to be a remote possibility, because Indians have almost refused to send their troops in Afghanistan.
Actually, may I add one thing here, because this propaganda has been coming from Indian side, that they were asked, our American friends maintain that no such
never.
request was made.
Exactly.
And India just preempted just to, highlight its importance that we are not going to send any soldiers.
And that's very important. So therefore, Pakistan's main concern was that if some military role is given to India in Afghanistan, that would be a nightmare for Pakistan. But that's not happening. I think the narrative in Washington is changing now. The Washington leadership is now rethinking its policy, and they're now recognizing the fact that Pakistan's role is very significant, very critical. He has used the word critical. So Pakistan's role is indeed very critical, and Pakistan can play a very important role in bringing peace and stability in Afghanistan.
So after those dramatic statements,
Yes.
we see that hardly anything substantial has changed. Maybe the relationship be on the mend, and we can expect that it might actually improve
Exactly.
in coming
And
days.
our foreign minister's visit to Washington and the talks that are going on there, they might produce something more positive and healthy than we were thinking about.
Right. Now, we have discussed this statement. Now, let us come back to this issue at hand, and that is Pakistan's domestic politics. We know that an amendment took place to allow various disqualified officials to resume or to take over their parties if they want to. Mayor Nawaz Sharif seems to be the immediate beneficiary, but it is said that this amendment or agreement on this amendment came much earlier. I had heard 6 months, 5 months maybe between all political parties, because other political parties also fear that they might be disqualified or their leaders might be disqualified. But one of the guests that I have in the studio was earlier telling me that the consensus was reached something like 3 years ago. So I'm going to go to Zaid Gishkori and ask him to repeat what he was telling me earlier.
Farooq, thank you very much. Basically, luckily I was covering the whole proceedings of parliamentary committee. You know that consists of more than 34 members parliament representing their political parties.
And met more than 100 times.
100 times, and more than 350 amendments have been made in this historic piece of legislation, which was undermined by one or two such clauses. And the very clause we are discussing here, at the early stage in 2014 and 15, this clause was removed and unanimous consensus was developed by all political parties.
Okay.
This specific clause was removed from political parties order 2002. You know that this piece of legislation is a combination of 8 different electoral laws introduced in Pakistan history. So this piece is very, very important, and
Okay.
I'm very, very...
I'm glad that you mentioned all that information, but the question is, earlier you also implied, or you actually stated, that one or two clauses, including the one that we are mentioning right now, undermined the whole package. Why do you think that it actually undermined? Because in the past we have seen that dictators have tried to implement this kind of precondition, but democratic governments have tried to remove it. So history is repeating itself, nothing new.
Farooq, my point is different. Listen, first of all, I'm very sad that the majority people could not read this piece of legislation. They are almost misleading the people here that Musharraf's regime introduced this clause and they removed it. That's it.
Ayub Khan introduced, Bhutto removed it. Zia introduced, later on removed by politicians. Then Pervez Musharraf revived it. It is what is believed widely in this country. And you mentioned Political Parties Act 2002. And that actually, who was ruling the country in 2002? It was Pervez Musharraf.
Yeah, you just seeking my point of view. I'm telling you that a person who is disqualified by the top country court, and he is not acceptable to this court, to many people, because he has been declared dishonest. He cannot be a member of the parliament. So people opinion is divided on this issue. My
Yeah,
point of
but
view is that how can a person uh, become party president or a leading member of the party that basically he is no longer
Right. Let me go back to Javed Sadiq Saab. This is an interesting point, and so many anchors now all of a sudden are raising it on television, and the columnist as well. What do you make of this question, sir? Do you think that it is wrong to give this permission? Because usually it is thought that political parties belong to a different category, and that is freedom of association.
I think this issue has two aspects. One is legal and the other is moral. The legal issue is that the person who has been disqualified under Article 62 and 63 and ceases to be a member of the parliament or doesn't qualify to be a member of the parliament cannot be elected as the head of the political party. Now the amendment has been made. It was introduced in the Senate and subsequently in the National Assembly, and by that the disqualified former Prime Minister Mr. Nawaz Sharif has now become eligible to be the head of the party. That's the legal position. I mean, legally there is no obstruction on his way to become.
Right.
But the moral question is that if a person who is not qualified to be a member of the parliament, he should not be the head of a political party, because that is a moral question.
Is it a moral question?
It is a moral question. I think
Because I give you some extension. The question then would be that whether he can be part of any political party at all, a member for that matter, because usually citizens are allowed that thing. And then whether he should have citizenship at all or any rights at all.
No, I think
People can get carried away.
You can extend that debate to any degree you want to, but I believe that at least the head of a political party should be a clean person. And it is very unfortunate, very sad that in Pakistan the democratic dispensations do not have any process of accountability within the parties. I mean, there is no process of accountability. If some member of the party, or for that matter the head of a political party, commits something wrong, moral or legal,
Right.
he cannot be held accountable. He is not asked to explain to the party,
Yeah.
because the parties, the interest of all the members of a party in a political party as an entity are equal. And
Right.
if I and you are a member of a political party and that head of that party commits something wrong, then we should have a right to ask him to explain to us. Because
And
we are also
had this discussion when we were talking about Gulalai case as
Exactly.
well. Because at that time also we saw this this reaction where nobody was ready within the party to accept that
Exactly.
their leader could have done anything wrong.
Exactly. And I think in UK, you are quite familiar with the political system in
Right.
UK. When the former Prime Minister of UK, Tony Blair, he admitted that he misled the nation on Iraq attack. He was asked by the party to step down, to submit his resignation. So I think that parties have a greater stake in the system and in the entire process. So any political
Why
party-
do you think that this is happening? Because political parties are not strong enough? Because Pakistan has the cult of individuals?
individual cult, that's very important. And I think they have their own a very strong footprint on the political parties. And here, you know, the ruling party, PMLN, the followers of Mr. Nawaz Sharif are saying very loudly that we do not believe that our leader is corrupt, that we support him. Even if the Supreme Court has disqualified him, we think that he is qualified to lead us.
Right.
So there is no internal mechanism in the party.
For an oversight
Exactly.
and accountability. That is an important thing. And since Zaid Gishkori, you can comment on what was said earlier, but here's another thing that I have to add to your plate. And that is my experience, because I've been covering political parties for quite some time as well, was that political parties in Pakistan are not only weak as institutions, their treasury is very weak. And because Pakistan doesn't have any campaign finance laws, any elaborate campaign finance laws, and that's why they don't collect money, funds. They sell seats. Many of them do. People's Party, one of the leaders of political parties, accepted in a program that I was hosting that they sell their tickets. Do you think that in this package that you were praising earlier, there is mention of enhancing the quality of campaign finance laws so that political parties become vibrant?
Listen, as historically you know well that unfortunately Pakistan also being ruled by military dictators and almost 3 decades. But our political system is very weak. I agree to you at this point that they could
but I was
not
talking
even
about political parties particularly, because the institutions, like
Yeah,
Javed Sadiq Saab mentioned, PMLN cannot hold Mian Nawaz Sharif accountable. PTI cannot hold Imran Khan accountable.
PPP cannot do
People's
it.
Party cannot, hold,
Zardari, Mr. Zardari.
Zardari Saab or his, son accountable. So there has to be some kind of punch that has to be packed within the party so that it becomes powerful and it can call people to, for accountability. That is not happening. Do you think that that is taken care of in this package?
I think, as you know, that democracy is evolving and gradually gaining ground in Pakistan.
Evolving or revolving?
I hope so that political parties and particularly their important members, because Pakistan People's Party have great exposure of different members who have, that many heavyweights and many intellectual people like Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz is there. And now the PTI is also a very good competitor. I'm very happy to see all these 3 political parties.
Competition is always healthy.
And a well-educated person as well. And this piece of legislation we are discussing here, many people gave very, very important amendment for this piece of legislation to make this democratic process very stronger, particularly 2018 election. It was an effort to being seen by the people that these elections would be free and fair. But unfortunately, I agree to you that I don't see any accountability process within the party.
Right.
If somebody did corruption, and I don't see that this is a very unfortunate for people of Pakistan that that right now 4 elected prime ministers are facing mega corruption trials in accountability court. This is very unfortunate. And again, you have seen it that once the top court of the country disqualified a person that he is no longer an honest man, and there should be trial against him, but nobody dared to contest election within the party to become president of this party.
No, but here's the thing. You keep on mentioning the moral aspect, and I'm concerned because right now the champions, not you, not Javed Sadiq Saab, but the champions of morality now on television, especially people like Sheikh Rashid Saab, who are now saying that it is immoral, it is immoral. They were the same people 10 years ago who were saying that they are going to elect the same dictator in uniform 10 times over, right? At that time, we were not hearing about morality of the issue. The concern is that maybe we have a break with some kind of, our experience of reality. First of all, this country 10 years ago was a dictatorship. You'll agree with me? In this country, same political parties were handed out the gift of martyrdom repeatedly. The moment you make somebody a martyr, why would they not come back? You're saying nobody dared to contest Mian Nawaz Sharif. Do you think that anybody would want to? Because now, all of a sudden, after 4 years of rule, system has made him a martyr again.
Farooq, this is a very important point because the whole Panama investigation, whole Panama trial, and the day before yesterday happened in NAB court, particularly outside of it, that our top security caesar of this country is saying that there is a state within a state.
Yeah,
I don't know that who
that was
is
heart-rending. But before I actually talk about that, I have 2 questions that I have already asked. One, sir, is about campaign finance and how political parties can be strengthened. Do you think that this package takes care of campaign finance problems? Because we haven't seen that kind of a
I
debate
don't
on
think it does. It takes care of it. Recently, I think a couple of days back, I read a report in one of the English dailies of Pakistan,
Sir.
which actually was running a very important story on campaigning, political campaigning. And it said that it is becoming very expensive by the day. If you want to gather, according to this report of Daily Dawn, if you want to gather 5,000 people in a political rally, you need 5 million rupee.
5 million.
5 million. And I reread the story that am I reading the right thing? And yes, 5 million for 5,000 people if you wanted to.
Only 5,000 people.
Exactly.
So and that is one rally.
One rally. So, you know, if you are planning a series of rallies, you need millions and millions of rupee. And where are you getting this money?
Right.
Who is going to donate it to
And
you?
then there's a bar on expenditure as well.
As well
That
by
is
the
never
Election
followed.
Commission,
That-
right?
Yeah.
Therefore, it's a very interesting and very important question, and very fundamental question, that there should be laws which should govern the donation to the political parties, how the political parties are raising these funds to run the election campaigns, to maintain their day-to-day activities. This is very important. There must be a set of laws which should govern it.
Right. And here's the question. If it is that important, and at this moment you're talking about expenditure and raising money, there's another very important thing that takes place in the US, in UK, so many other countries, disclosure laws.
Exactly.
If your challenger challenges you about gathering money, you are duty bound to disclose the sources,
Right.
At least through the system.
Exactly.
In Pakistan, we don't even have a debate on these matters.
I think the debate must start because
Why doesn't it?
Because the Panama has opened a lot of things and a lot of aspects of a political life. How people become rich when they are in power, how they amass money, how they abuse their power to build their own fortunes. That's one aspect.
Right.
But the other aspect is that the political parties, when they're raising funds, for instance, one of the cases against PTI is being heard by the court and the Election Commission, foreign funding of
Right.
political parties. And the PTI is claiming that PMLN and PPP both are getting foreign fundings.
Yeah, but they never, registered their parties as business concerns in the US.
Right. That's
It is Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf LLC,
right.
if I'm not mistaken.
Oh,
I have
exactly.
worked on it. I will respond.
I will come to you.
Okay.
Right. let
But,
him
but I
finish.
believe that there must be a set of laws, some regulatory mechanism to see to it that the money that is coming to a political party to run its day-to-day election campaign or other political activities, what is the source of the money?
How to measure it?
You have to measure it, and what is the source? I mean, if tomorrow the drug money starts flowing into the kitty of a political party, that's not acceptable.
Right.
So therefore, I think, yes, you are
What
right.
do you
that-
mean, might?
I think you are right that there should be laws, and the political parties should wake up,
Right.
and they must,
But is it, sir, since we don't have this debate, and I'm trying to actually infuse it for past 10 years at least, I've been writing on it, I've been talking about it. Is it possible it is because every political party would want the other party to be restrained but not themselves?
That's one trend. But I think when the laws are in place and a mechanism in place to hold parties accountable for the money they have in their kitty, then I think it will be easier for the law enforcers to find out as to what is the source of the money,
Right.
how the political party is getting money and from where.
You wanted to enlighten us, sir.
Yeah, this is very important. Unfortunately, in Pakistan, money is ruling the roost in political system. One who has a lot of money funding the party, he just is
Can take
only
over the
entitled
party.
to take seat, and then it qualifies for the parliament.
I bet you're thinking of Jahangir Tareen at this moment, are you not? Okay, go
In
ahead.
every political party, but the most important and vital part is our laws must empower Election Commission of Pakistan, because it's duty of
Our political parties should empower Election Commission of Pakistan.
Yes, these political parties which
But
are
who is going to empower the
governing
political
and
parties?
ruling the country,
No, hang on.
they should form.
You are talking about a vicious cycle here. Why are political parties weak? Because they don't have funds, because they don't have laws, because the Election Commission is not strong. Why is Election Commission not strong? Because political parties are not strong. The trouble at this moment is somebody is going to break the vicious cycle. Do you think that is going to happen now?
I think so. Listen, the most important thing, I am talking about ECP, that all cases are being heard in
with
Supreme
your
Court of
permission,
Pakistan.
I just
Yeah,
want
please.
to add a footnote that ECP has already is equipped with laws to ensure that whatever limits of expenditure are there and given out, they must be followed by the political party.
Right.
But there has been a blatant violation of these laws regarding the expenditure, because the money that actually is allowed to be spent by a National Assembly member or a Provincial Assembly member, the limit is already set. But
An unrealistic limit,
it's
but
unrealistic.
it
But you know, the MPAs and MNAs, the people who are fighting election for provincial and National Assembly seats, they spend billions and billions of rupees in some cases. And the Election Commission seems to be hapless, powerless. They don't implement, you know, the laws, or they are not capable of implementing those laws. And they have not penalized anyone who has overspent or who has crossed the limits set by the Election Commission of Pakistan.
is there. Right. And you want to resume?
Yeah.
You want to talk about this?
The important thing is that many matters are being heard by Supreme Court of Pakistan. This must be decided in Election Commission of Pakistan, because listen, the nomination papers and asset declaration forms and many other things is the job of top poll body in this country, because we were talking about foreign funding and many other things. According to my knowledge, I also have the document. I got this document from Justice Department that 4 Pakistani political parties, and particularly PTI and General Musharraf party, have been raising funds in United States. And then Muttahida Qawm movement also formed such sort of companies to generate fund.
Which
and
faction? London or Pakistan?
No, the Farooq Star section.
Okay.
And then Pakistan People's Party also hired services of a lobbying firm
Right.
in America.
So, lobbying firm is another thing. Hang on.
Yeah.
When you have registered your party as a limited company,
Yeah.
and then you get money, collect money,
You
and
raise
it
fund.
comes, and you cannot even disclose the sources.
Yes.
Because there you have a potentially gray area, that a person might be a Pakistani of Pakistani origin and still may not have Pakistani nationality.
Yeah.
And that can also happen with other people of other religions as well. Then somebody challenges it, says that actually that donor was an Indian, not a Pakistani.
Yes.
And then it becomes quite a difficult issue for
Yeah,
Pakistan.
this what happened with PTI. PTI generated $3.5 million in last 6 years.
$3.5
million in
That's a
last
big
6
sum.
years in United States, and Pakistan laws, political parties order laws are vague on this issue, because no political party can accept foreign fund, cannot generate fund, cannot take fund from foreign citizens, foreign
tell
nationals,
me the
or
same.
any company.
Answer the same question that I asked Javed Sadiq Saab also. Why is it that Pakistan doesn't have a debate on these matters?
There should be a debate, because
No, don't tell me should. Tell me why not. Why don't we have a debate? Because elections in this country are quite frequent, even if the government's or their stability is not.
yes.
So why is it that these matters, after 70 years of creation of Pakistan, have not even made it to Pakistan's television channels or Pakistan's newspapers at this moment?
Actually, you know that media, it's media responsibility, it's our job while sitting on TV to write something to make people very much aware about such funding, because this is a new phenomena, and people were
New phenomenon.
very
You
much
just
new
said that
phenomena in
other
Pakistan.
old parties are doing the same thing.
I think so, but I know about two parties, two also got registered but could not raise funds, and I don't know about PMLN. I questioned one of politician within PMLN that did PMLN raise fund in UK or US? They said we don't do any such activities because we work through cash.
Okay.
See,
Right.
I think the laws must be there,
Right.
or a system or a mechanism must be there in place to regulate or to oversee the flowing of funds into the party's kitties, and how that money is being spent, and the limits that are set by the Election Commission of Pakistan, they must be followed. But more important is the fact that when we say that a political party under the current law cannot accept funds from a foreign source,
Right.
that's important, because here we have also heard this allegation that the former Prime Minister received money from Osama bin Laden, for instance.
Right.
This is one of the charges.
Okay.
So tomorrow, any other organization,
No, but
you know, any other,
Sir,
or
I'm glad that you actually mentioned it. Why? Because these are accusations that belong in a decade or two, in 80s and 90s.
Right.
How much can we travel back in time to hold people accountable? And then remember that when Panama Papers names came out, it wasn't only one party that was target, right? Every party and so many states, the businessmen, and so many other organizations were also mentioned. What happened to that accountability?
I think the debate is still going on, and for instance, Jamaat-e-Islami is raising this issue time and again, that all those 400 plus people whose names have appeared in these Panama Papers should be held accountable.
Yeah.
And the Jamaat-e-Islami is launching a campaign. Even today I was hearing a speech by Sirajul Haq Saab,
Right.
on in a
Correct
public
me
rally.
if I'm wrong, that it was his first prayer before the Honorable Court as well.
Exactly.
And then
So-
he was told to actually narrate
tell
down.
you
I
this
think we
story.
need to sensitize our people also, the people, the general public, that they must also exert pressure on the accountability mechanisms or institutions of accountability, that they must also look into the affairs of other persons whose name have appeared in Panama Papers.
Right.
Because all of them have offshore companies, and all of them have parked their money in foreign banks and offshore companies, and that money was probably stolen from Pakistan or
Right.
siphoned out of Pakistan.
So this could
this
be
is very important.
Simultaneously, maybe we should have gone for better disclosure laws so that we could actually dig
Exactly,
it out as well.
exactly.
And that is not happening?
Yeah, that's not happening.
We don't even have the debate on television.
And unless we actually probe the sources of other people and ill-gotten wealth that other people whose names have appeared in Panama Papers, Mr. Nawaz Sharif and his party will continue to argue that only one person has been victimized,
Yeah,
or
and-
the entire process of
and here's the
accountability has been
problem.
targeted against one party and one leader.
Right, and here's the problem, that when we talk about Panama Papers, they say that it started with Panama, ended with Ikama. You didn't even punish us on Panama. It was not even mentioned in the original petition. So they'll keep on complaining, and we heard the former Prime Minister even talking about that today.
Today even, but
Right.
but
What
the
worries me?
Supreme Court has said that if you want us to further elaborate this judgment, then this is only a tip of the iceberg.
Okay.
You know.
They
This is
should have
very-
actually done it so that to end all curiosity, whatever it is. Yeah.
This is very interesting. It was my dream that shattered. I was quite happy to cover this Panama paper, that now accountability started from the top. I was very much hopeful, as you told us, that Jamaat-e-Islami was the only political party which want action against all those named in Panama Papers, more than 450 people.
No,
When the
with due
accountability-
respect, Jamaat-e-Islami is such a huge believer in accountability only because we usually, normally in the nation's debate, don't want to include the matters relating to zakat, ushr and okaf in accountability debate. If you start doing that, maybe they'll also take a back seat, because every person has been working in a broken, compromised system. How can you think that they are going to be angels?
The most important thing, I'm pretty sure that I'm sure Supreme Court of Pakistan is pending with Supreme Court of Pakistan. Supreme Court judges promised that first let us to take this case as an example, and then we will take up all those people cases named in Panama Papers. And I'm sure that Supreme Court of Pakistan might be taking, and it should take these cases.
Do you think that Supreme Court is the right forum for that? Because already we have a long list of pendency cases there. Should they be taking care of it, or other forums can be used?
Just let me to complete it. Supreme Court is not the prime forum. Yes, we should empower National Accountability Bureau. This is very important, and the debate is very vital right now, because the parliamentary committee is also reviewing laws for the new accountability commission, because there is a lack of manpower, specialist investigation officer.
Yeah, but
and
you forget one tier. Either we talk about Supreme Court, or then we end up talking about NAB. There could be High Court involved as well, and that could have been
but basically, what is required is that we need to have strong institutions of accountability,
right?
Be it a NAB or election or the other accountability commission that is mentioned. And this debate has been going on for the last 4 years, and the political parties in the parliament and their members, they have formed a committee, and this committee has been debating as to what should be the shape of this new accountability commission, what should be the powers given to it, and all that. This debate is going on, but we need a very, very strong accountability institution at the national level, so that every time it is not the Supreme Court which should probe or which should intervene in the matters. The Supreme Court has regretted the fact that the NAB, which is a basic institution to look into the misuse of funds or corruption or whatever, or misuse of power, and this Panama case should primarily should have been probed into by the NAB, National Accountability Bureau, which
that is supposed to be the right forum.
I just want to add one thing very important, with due respect, sir. Right now that NAB is just looking into more than 576 cases, and allegedly $1.3 million, million rupees, 1.3 trillion rupees, 1.3 trillion rupees, around 33% of our budget, this money allegedly embezzled in shape of 179 mega corruption cases are pending with National Accountability Bureau. Why then focus on this one case? All other cases which were being pleaded since 1999. It has been 18 years now.
All right, and this is quite intriguing, actually.
Yeah, it is, but I think it is the failure on the part of National Accountability Bureau that the cases of corruption which were
only National Accountability Bureau or nation itself?
Nation itself, but basically you always go into these things, or you make inquiries or probes through an institution, and we have set up, after all, in 1999, this National Accountability Bureau came into being, and it was supposed to nab all the corrupt people, and it did.
Actually, the Accountability Court, Accountability Bureau, not National Accountability Bureau, but Accountability Bureau was created during caretaker time. Before that.
Before that, even Benazir Bhutto had created one bureau,
Right.
And before that, Mr. Nawaz Sharif had one accountability bureau added by Mr. Saifur Rahman. It has been there, but the national
It
accountability.
was actually started during the time when you had accountability minister Najam Sethi.
Okay.
And that was the time.
Yeah, that's true. But I think National Accountability Bureau became effective and started looking into the issues of corruption and the cases of corruption after '99 when General Musharraf created this and headed by a general and subsequently another general.
Right, sir.
So I think this is the time that we need to have a strong accountability mechanism so that we are able to at least weed out some corruption from the political
That
system.
is important, and here's the question. I'm told that we are left with a couple of minutes, but here's the question. You have seen Pakistan's politics for quite some time. Just to understand what do you think of evolution or lack of it in this society. 25 years ago, were we less corrupt or more corrupt?
I think we were less corrupt.
Okay.
Because with the passage of time, we started compromising. And
24 years ago, sir, Benazir Bhutto's government was removed on the charges
on
of
the
corruption.
charges of corruption, 9 references were filed in the courts, but none of them could be proved because they were all filed on frivolous basis. But now, with the passage of time, the talk about corruption and the money that is being embezzled and devoured by political parties, by politicians, by civil servants. One of the civil servants, was caught in Balochistan,
and we are told that all of a sudden he has a stroke, half of his body cannot work. But the humble submission is maybe there is political use of corruption charge as well in this society. And the problem is, since we keep on going after the same thing over and over again, this society maybe is not progressing because there are vestiges of dictatorial culture in the society that keeps on A, aiding and abetting corruption, B, nabbing them when it suits them. You want to add something, and then I have to conclude.
My opinion is that we are more corrupt.
Okay.
As compared to 24 years ago.
Because we are more populous? We have more population now?
There are certain reasons, frankly.
Hell, we didn't even know how many are
we talk about only that politicians are corrupt. Look at bureaucrats, look at many top investigations going on into military accounts as well. I mean, there's some form of
You cannot explode a nuclear bomb at the end of the program.
No, frankly, NAB is even investigating. Look at NLC is the prime example.
Every institution has gone corrupt, has become corrupt. Even the media is not outside.
Even the media?
Not outside the ambit of corruption.
I'm not objecting to mention of media. I'm objecting to the word even, because somehow I feel that corruption was there for quite some time. But sir, I'm told that we have to conclude the program. Just to build on what you said earlier, here's the humble submission. I have to conclude the program.
I know that.
Since you mentioned military and civilian investigations as well, humble submission is we cannot actually talk about the armed side lightly, because at this moment this country is going through a war and great heroism is being shown, and visibly, in my experience, I haven't seen that kind of serious corruption on the other side. But we will discuss it in another time, sir. At this moment, I'm told that we have to leave it there. Zadgesh Kauri, thank you very much for your time. Javed Siddiq Saab, always a great pleasure having you on the show. Viewers, you have listened to our participants. This discussion has to continue, will continue. But we have to take stock of corruption as an issue and corruption as a slogan, or anti-corruption as a slogan. Because in the past we have seen repeatedly, back even in 1948, there were politicians who were accused of corruption. And that's how Pakistan became what it became. Part democratic, part dictatorial country. We have to remember that corruption is not acceptable, but so is not acceptable any kind of dictatorial regime. This was today's program. Thank you very much for watching us. Take care. let us hope in coming days at least that charge is rebutted. And that can be rebutted if we see equal pursuit of justice in other cases as well. If that doesn't happen, it will continue to worry all of us. This was today's program. Thank you very much for watching us. Take care.
Or critiques of Mian Nawaz Sharif, and I said, how is the new Prime Minister doing? He says he's doing an excellent job. So, well, yeah, so
wonderful.
So that comes from my opponents.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you so much for taking out the time and being on the show. We're completely out of time. But this is a conversation that's probably going to be happening in the next couple of weeks and days, at least until the next elections and until the fate of Mian Nawaz Sharif is absolutely clear. We still don't know what may happen in the future. Thank you once again, sir, for taking out the time. Well, you heard the conversation, and in conclusion, we'd like to say that whatever happens, happens for the betterment of Pakistan. With that hope, and on that note, it's goodbye.
Definitely water treaty and its implementation. Then Pakistan's counter-terrorism effort is a global interest now. It will take your 2 minutes.
Okay.
Then comes your issues like global issues like this climate and others will come, but not that detailed. I would say that also then global issues will come. Pakistan should take a lead on Rohingya issue. We have a lot of past association. Did I tell you? I think I didn't, that Rohingya issue could be resolved as early as 1947 when their delegations had gone to Mr. Jinnah and met 3-4 times even in Dhaka, saying that this is the formula 1935 Act and Rohingyas are a small community. At that time it was not even 1 million, but total population of Burma was less than also. Right. Now 54 million people and Muslims are about 9 to 10%. Right. But they're being persecuted, they're being denied their citizenship right.
And I promise we are going to have an entire program dedicated to that topic. I'm just being told that we have to conclude the program. So you want to chip in last minute?
Very briefly, that as far as the water issue is concerned, I think Pakistan needs to raise this issue in the garb of what Narendra Modi has been threatening, that we are not going to let the water flow downstream to Pakistan because this is our right.
We have such remarkable sound bites that could have been used anywhere, not at the UN, but elsewhere, coming from Indian side on these matters. We somehow don't actually...
Unfortunately, we have not.
And we have to learn that skill. And someday we are going to talk about our, soft power as well and our influence. But at this moment, I'm afraid we have to leave it there. Dr. Mohammad Khan sir, thank you very much, sir, for your time. Ambassador Burhanul Islam sir, thank you very much for your time as well. Dr. Tohrul Jameen, always a great pleasure having you in the studio in the show. Viewers, you have listened to our participants. This discussion, of course, will continue. Every year we conduct these programs and then we see the speeches as well. But the problem at this moment is that while we are expecting certain things from UN, the speech that you saw coming from Donald Trump and the other speeches also might actually indicate that a lot of things are shifting. What becomes of UN in coming years, what becomes of its General Assembly, we don't know yet. So let us hope that Pakistan finds its voice and doesn't perhaps expect that much, but it does a lot to highlight and frame its own concerns. If that happens, Pakistan will one day win in any case, whether the UN is there, whether the UN is as powerful or as weak as it is today or not. This was today's program. Thank you very much for watching us. Take care.
इत्तेहाद होल्डिंग्स अब